Hello ladies and gentlemen, Willie here. Well, it's been just about a week since Dire Maul dropped, and the dust has settled as to what gold farming methods work and what turned out to just be wrong. But let's have a look at whether Dire Maul has broken the economy, or is it just okay? Is farming gold in Dire Maul any good though? Initially, I was going to include the gold farming in the Dire Maul content video, but I thought in the end it'd be better to wait and see how things actually are once the dungeon has dropped, as at the end of the day, Classic isn't vanilla. Classic isn't any private server, it's something entirely new. So although there may have been things that were known, whether they actually play out like that in game is an entirely different thing, and it turns out I was right to wait, as what was expected did not wholly pan out. Dire Maul does fortunately have farming options for many classes solo, and some good content you can do as a small group, so not even warriors get left out as they usually do when it comes to instance gold farming. I'm going to cover what options you may be curious about, good or bad, and tell you whether it is worth your time doing in Classic. Finally, keep in mind, though your class can potentially do some below things, it may just take so much time or effort that it's not worth the investment. Maybe for a challenge, sure, but we're trying to make some money here. Anyway, let's get into this. Out of everything that was hyped up in Dire Maul, Lasher farming was the top of the list. And unfortunately, it's turned out to be the one that was way overestimated on how good it was on private servers. And we're hearing many people saying Lasher drops were nerfed in 1.11 or 1.12, so it makes sense that they aren't so good in Classic anymore. Also, the patrols in the conservatory have been given nitro boost in Classic compared to many private servers. You have to be extra careful when farming in here. Lashers in Dire Maul East are pretty low health. They don't hit particularly hard, making them fairly accessible for any class with some form of AoE. Mages, of course, Discipline Priests with Power Infusion and Holy Nova, Paladins, Warlocks and so on. You've got to watch out that they are immune to nature damage. In fact, every plant mob in Dire Maul East is immune to nature damage. It's kind of a pain to farm as a shaman or a druid. When you're going here, it depends on your class. Obviously as a mage, you can basically pull as much as like. You're playing a different class, you really need to feel out how many packs you can handle at one time, whilst checking out where the patrols are throughout the room. There can also be some dusty tomes in the conservatory area, which are red books, and they can contain any of the class trinket books that are new in Dire Maul, and potentially forers as well, which would still go for a few hundred gold for a good while. It's estimated these are around 20 to 25 gold per hour, baseline depending on your clear speed. This can be bumped up to 35 to 40 with herbalism, as there is always a whole bunch of herbs in the area. This is about half what was earned on private servers, and overall it's probably only worth your time if you have herbalism. Most of the gold here comes from trash items from the Lashers themselves, and the final note is to actually reset the instance. You have to invite an alt to the party, log onto the alt, wait for it to get leader, and then you can reset the instance and relog back in onto your main. Keep in mind that the maximum number of resets you can do per hour is 5, so if you're clearing this super fast, you can also do a dog farm in Dire Maul North before going to the Lashers and resetting. But let's talk about the dog farm next, and this is just inside Dire Maul North, and it's more difficult than the Lashers as the dogs actually hit really hard, and this one is only really available to mages. So from the ledge area, we're going to pull the patrols and the other packs and then hover on the edge of the ledge here. All you want to do is have ice barrier up and then ice block when the train of doggos is getting close. After you see a bunch of hits in a row, hop off, over, get a new ice barrier up, and then simply just blizzard them down. It's pretty simple stuff. Also, just to note, during this video going out, it's currently the Halloween event, so you can get bobbing apples from your inns for free, which give plus 15 stamina buff, which could definitely help out when you're farming these. Blizzard them and keep blizzarding slightly in advance of where they are. If a few get ahead, you can rank 1 blizzard them just to slow them, or blink up to them and frosten over them. Much like Lashers, these guys aren't really too exciting without a profession, around 20 to 25 an hour at a conservative estimate. Most of the gold once again is from trash items here. With skinning, you can bank loads of rugged leather, around 2 stacks per run with decent luck. You can likely go up to 30 to 35 gold top end, depends on your server prices. You can easily go and kill the bugs upstairs afterwards, they have next to no health. If you have AoE, this doesn't really need much explaining, and there are 3 packs just next to each other. Finally, there's a boss here, Guard Moldar. He has an okay loot table and the chance to drop the class bucks again. You just need to hop back and forth between the rock and the ledge whilst DPSing. And this one's really available to any class as long as you can clear the bugs out. Just need to watch out if he gets too close, as he can charge you off the rock and cause some issues. Final thing to mention about doing this is you are hitting the drop table for some of the top tier world epics. It's super unlikely, but it's something to think about. Things like Kroll's Blade, Axe of Deep Wound, Skull Flame Shield, Freezing Band I believe's in there, and so on. Moving back to the Lasher farm now, if you wanted to do something a bit more challenging after you've cleared the Lashers, you can go further into Dire Maul East and continue clearing. Once again, this is for mages. Essentially, you're going to go through the Lasher area as you normally would, and just on your way in, you need to be careful as there are potentially 2 stealth Satyrs that are patrolling. So ideally, you can see there is a number of Satyr spawns along the left side of the room. Now, initially, you need to feel out how many of these you can pull at the same time, and with these, what you need to do is quite simple. Just going to pull them all together, hit an ice block, wait for them to stack up nicely, then nova them, back off, bandage if you don't have any dot on you, and from there just cone of cold on cooldown and save nova for if you ever get any resists. In between the cone of cold, you can just spam rank 1 arcane explosion, fish for clear casting procs. These guys drop good silver, they drop rune cloth, bell cloth, which is the main area here, as well as the usual greens you'd expect from anything. Doing Lashers plus herbing and then Satyrs, you're looking around 70 to 75 gold an hour. This route of course is with herbing. This should outdo Zul'Farrak for mages, and you're getting the chance to roll on the high tier epics. Another thing that's turned out to be less lucrative than initially hoped for is farming dusty tomes, which can be found throughout Dire Maul, and these have the appearance of quite a large red book, most frequently spawn next to bosses. This consistent farm is only really available as a rogue, druid or a hunter due to the need to reset aggro very frequently. The dusty tomes themselves can contain any of the class trinket books within them, as well as Fora's compendium on dragon slaying. A bit unfortunately, the prices for the books has dropped off super fast as tomes drop so frequently from the bosses that many are barely even over 10 gold still. The only big prize going after here is Fora's, and the chance of getting it is pretty low. They're more of a benefit from doing other activities in Dire Maul than actively worth going for. As for gold per hour, I don't really think you can put a number on it, since you're getting basically nothing until you hit the lucky strike and land on Fora's. You may have heard this term thrown around when it comes to making gold in Dire Maul, which is the jump run. This is basically a boss rush version of Dire Maul East, where you jump off the ledge as soon as you zone into the instance, clear out 3 main bosses, and then run back out and do it again. This is one of the best options for classes that usually struggle in farming gold, and has been done as a duo warrior plus healer, but you need some pretty insane gear to make this happen. It's presently usually done as a 3-man group with a healer, tank and DPS. Can opt into herbing at the start if anyone has the profession to do it. After you've zoned in, first you're going to be going back through the garden area over to Hydra spawn. He hits decently hard, has a knockback and can disarm, so be careful where you're facing. He does spawn 2 adds around half health, which are pretty annoying and knock you back on each melee, so just take them out as soon as possible, and he should only spawn them once. And there you're going to carry on up the hallway to Zebra Thornhoof, and you got to watch out for the stealth Satyrs on the way. This guy only has 1 dangerous ability, which is Sacrifice, and he'll use this pretty frequently, and all this does is stun someone and gives them a pretty hefty damage over time. This can cause wipes if you're not careful, so position near line of sight and be prepared to duck around a pillar when he casts this ability. Next we're going to hop back down the ledge to the area where you defeated Hydra spawn, then head back out into the garden area and have a chat with a big tree there. From there he's going to go back over to the far door and destroy it so you can carry on down to the area with the final boss. You want to head around the side of the ledges here and clear the packs in front of the boss, as once he gets to about half health they'll also pull with him. Once you've cleared everything in front of the boss, you can start on him. This boss has a few dangerous abilities that you need to watch out for. Enervate drains a large amount of mana over a few seconds. This one's a dispellable poison. With it is a hard hitting dot that's also dispellable as a disease. Once again, you should play around pillars as much as possible to avoid his cast, as both his dangerous spells do have a cast time. At about 40% health, the rocks just near where the boss was initially will fall away and loads of imps will come out. These guys don't hit too hard, but they're just sort of really annoying, especially when they get on the healer and they make it basically impossible for them. So you really want to bring a DPS with some form of good AoE along. But once you've finally got this guy down and cleared his imps out, you can go up to the tunnel where the imps spawned, and you can get 2 to 4 rich thorium veins in the hallway. 275 mining is an absolute must for doing this for someone in the party. These can give blue sapphires, which are around 25 gold a go. Arcane crystals are around 50 gold on top of the usual materials you get from thorium veins. In terms of gold per hour from this, it will vary widely on your group's makeup, your gear, how many of there you are, and of course a bit of boss RNG. Good luck to bring along another to sell gear if it drops, but prices have gone all the way down to the point where you actually see people giving gear away for free, as long as you only want one specific item, just so you'll speed their runs up a bit. The biggest thing here is to bring a miner. Don't let all that thorium at the end go to waste. Okay, this one can be done by a few classes, but in the interest of making gold, rather than giving yourself a challenge, you need to be a hunter. And this is soloing tribute runs. First things first, make 2 macros. First of all, /pet stay, and secondly, pet passive. Your pet will be dying a lot, and I mean a lot, so bring a huge amount of food, especially when you are learning this. The whole idea here is to put your pet on stay, send it into draw aggro, and then swap it to passive, which will cause it to run back where it was on stay, allowing you to run safely past. Reset aggro once your pet dies or it's out of range, and then feign death. Easy as that. You'll also want to be a specific specialization for this, something along this line. The thing that really matters here is improved feign death. Enemies have a chance to resist this in Classic and it can really mess you up. Finally, you need to be either a blacksmith or an engineer, as the final door needs to be dropped from the first boss. And whilst you can defeat the first boss fairly easily, it just takes a long time. Either a large Shiforium charge or a true silver skeleton key will work. You need invisibility potions along with you too. I'll show you when these are needed. So we're going to zone in and hop up on the ledge to avoid the first patrol, and then walk along around the side and hop off. So we're going to run into this pack in front of us, we're going to scatter the closest one and then get around the corner and feign death. After they've de-aggroed, cheetah on straight up the ramp, and we're going to loot chest in the center for the courtyard key. Keep moving before the boss patrols back up there, and you can reset on the ledge on the ramp downwards before you open the door. Get your pet back at this point and deal with the next two packs by putting it on stay next to you. Use your pet to aggro and then put it back to passive. Make sure if you see any Eye of Kilrog that appear that you shoot them straight away. They can see stealth and invisibility and they summon ads. They have to die as soon as possible. Still going to deal with the next set of ogres much in the same way. And eventually once we've got past them, we're going to deal with the bugs here in the same manner. So once your pet's gone, we're going to go around the wall and feign death, and then wait for the boss to patrol back onto the far wall and run round the corner. So you want to scatter the guy in front of you and concussive shot the other fella. We're going to feign just next to the ramp. So before you feign, you also want to have cheetah on here, and you can drink an invisibility pot at the bottom of this ramp, and we're going to use that cheetah and invisibility pot combo to skip the next two packs just up this ramp. Now we're going to get our pet back up at this point and send him in on his merry way. Pull the next two packs of mobs at the top of this ramp, and then we're going to run over to the door and open it using our large Shiforium charge or true silver skeleton key. Get through the door, feign death, and get your pet back, and then we've got another pack to skip, much in the same way you've been doing so far. You know the drill at this point. And then we're going to just skip past this final boss here as well. So at the final boss now, there's going to be 3 dogs patrolling around. We're going to frost trap them and kite them out. They do hit pretty hard, don't underestimate them. Now it's time to set up kiting route for the final boss. We're going to take your pet to the top of the ledge area here and have it on stay, and then send it down to draw aggro, put it back on passive, and it'll run up back to the top of the ledge area. Make sure you use dash on your pet once it hits the bosses so it can get some distance. Once the boss is near your pet, you need to hit it yourself to draw that aggro back off him, and from here start wearing the boss down. You want to keep Viper Sting up on Cho Rush as much as possible, or he will keep healing Gordog, and when he gets close to you, just feign death and the boss will run back over to your pet. If your pet dies, it's over. So when you're learning this or dying a lot or getting resists on feign death, it can really set you back super hard. We've seen people gain this to around 15 minutes as well, and it depends on your gear quite heavily. As for gold, once again it varies on the drops at the end. One of the great things about this is you can easily sell the content of the chest without people actually having to be inside the inst with you. You can see what drops and then advertise in world chat. Items such as Tarnished Elven Ring and Rod of the Overking are pretty solid, and markets for selling this is already pretty competitive, but even still it can be a decent gold maker. Now we're going to look at soloing Dire Maul East as a warlock. This one's pretty long overall and requires decent gear as the last boss is quite tough. Also, once again, just like the jump runs, you will want mining to do this, as one of the big draws is the 2 to 4 rich thorin veins at the end of the instance. After zoning in, we're going to drop straight off onto this rock here. Watch out for the pod just in front of you. You don't want to aggro that. We're going to go around the side a little bit and wait for this troll to leave. As soon as it has, we're going to go just around the next pod to the right. And if you look just to your right as you're running along this wall area, sometimes you can get a dusty tome here. Enslave the first demon you come across, which should be a stealth satyr. As we go inside, there can be another satyr nearby as well in stealth. If there is, just have your enslaved demon tank him and take him down, and we can then put him on stay and go around to the side and pull this fell Lasher around the corner. So we're going to let our pet do most of the work again. We're going to DPS the lash down with the pet tanking, and if it looks like your enslaved demon's going to die, dismiss him at low health and just dot him up, as if an enslaved demon is killed while you still control him, you won't get any loot from it. Once you've finally got him down, we're going to go across the pool and heal back up. Once again, again, watch out for any pods on the floor, and we're going to enslave the Hellcaller just next to Hydra spawn. As soon as you enslave him, what I'd recommend doing is putting him on passive straight away. I'd recommend macroing this and just spamming the macro, and then sort of running up to him and turning both his automatic spell casts off and manually casting Rain of Fire. If you don't do this, then he often casts Fireballs straight away. If you manage to do it fast enough, usually you can get 2 Rain of Fire casts from him before he dies. So we're just going to Corruption and Agony all the imps, and they will die off eventually. And if it looks like the Hellcaller is going to die, just dismiss him and run around the corner, kite them out and finish them off. The imps do spam a Fire Blast, which can hit up to 400. As for the boss, if your Hellcaller's lived, you can turn Fireball back on and move him into the corner a bit, as the boss does a knockback quite often. And what we're going to do is jump up and down the ledge here whilst letting the Hellcaller and the dots do the work. If your Hellcaller died, it's not a big deal. The dots still finish the boss off pretty easily. As soon as he's getting close to you, just switch sides, jump up and down. Around 40% the boss does spawn a couple adds, which are very low health but are really annoying as they knock back every single time they hit. So we're just going to take them out as soon as possible. And this guy can drop Essence of Water as well as some decent blues. So once he's dead, we're going to move up the hallway. There can be a number of stealth satyrs in the area. Enslave the first one you come across if it's near the start of the hallway. If there's not one near the start of the hallway, there's probably only going to be one, which will be towards the end of the hallway, so you can just DPS him down. And we're going to carry on up to this room, enslave this Hellcaller, deal with him the same way as the other one. We're not going to try and keep this guy alive, as we don't want him for the boss, as it can trigger one of the boss's abilities. So I'm going to Shadow Ball Immolate, Doom, Corruption, Siphon Life, and then we're going to hop off the ledge just behind us. I'm going to go back to the pillar where we defeated Hydra spawn and wait for him to appear. So the only dangerous ability this boss has is Sacrifice, which will stun you and do a large amount of shadow damage over a couple seconds. And it will also teleport you back up to the top room where you initially started the fight. And this is, like I mentioned before, about a 0.5 second cast, and he really spams it hard, so you do need to be careful not to get hit. So once he's down, we're going to head outside, go talk to the tree. Once again, be very careful with all the patrols in this area. And we're going to go up and around the ledge, around the side, just like before. But this time, we're going to be defeating everything in front of the boss. Now, the Fell Lash aren't too bad, but the Death Lash are really, really bad if they ever get near you. They've got like a Wind Fury attack, and they can crit for 1,000 on cloth. The easiest way to do it is just Curse of Doom them, banish them, kill the little lashes off. You can just reset on the ledges nearby if you want, if you're not feeling comfortable about your health. You have to be careful, there's a tree patrolling around the area as well, and they have an enormous aggro radius. After that, I just fear juggle them with Curse of Exhaustion and Curse of Recklessness until you've got them down. And for the boss, we're going to hop on this pillar just on the right and go round to the side, heal up to full. And this fight is about making as few mistakes as possible, as it's really an endurance test. This fight can go on for quite a while. And at 40%, the boss is going to summon a load of imps. You can apply Siphon Life to the imps to get some health back as well, but make sure there's always dots rolling on the boss. That's the main thing. Thing to know is the boss will change side when you hop back up on the ledge. So if I'm on the ledge and then I go down onto the rock just below me, the boss will keep coming at me. He will only turn round and go the other way if I jump back on the ledge. And the boss, just like I mentioned before, casts a number of dangerous damage over time effects. He also casts Wither, which is a strong damage over time effect, probably does about 1,500 damage total. Ideally, you just need to stay cool and wait for the boss to go down. You should be able to wear him down eventually. Killing off all the imps is kind of annoying. As for a Warlock, just Siphon Life a few of them, life tap a few times until you've got enough mana for a Hellfire, and then gonna Fell Domination, avoid Walker out, just hop down, sacrifice him, Hellfire, job done. And once again, just a reminder, you really need mining for this to work as well. By itself, with the drops from greens, it's quite similar in terms of gold to Maradon solos, around 50 to 55 an hour, but with mining and the chance for class books, especially for us to drop the possibilities from this at the high end, they could go up to 80 plus gold per hour. And the best thing, it should be pretty consistent due to the high demand of thorium, Velcloth, a bunch of the whole materials you get from this run. And there is an alternative to just go for the first 3 bosses instead of going for the last boss. This route has more chance to drop items like greens or Velcloth, and it doesn't need mining. Saying that, herbalism will certainly help with this route, with picking herbs in the garden area on the way inside, and then there are loads of ghost mushroom inside as well. Standard Shadow Mastery rune build should work just fine. On top of this, it's less gear dependent, as once you get the hang of the bosses, they can barely land a hit on you. The upside of being here on a lock is easily being able to take out the Hellcaller and impacts, however, with Enslaved Demon, and the only difference between this and the last run is instead of going outside afterwards, we're just going to go up this hallway here. There's usually a Shadow Stalker around this area, and then we're just going to go and pull the boss all the way back down to the area where we did the last 2 bosses and just take her out from there. And make sure you have a look and see whether there's a tome whilst you're in the area as well. So, Dire Maul for gold farming, is it any good though? Yeah, it's pretty good. It introduces some new methods. It's without a doubt an increase in the volume of certain items coming from the game, thanks to instance farming like herbs, runecloth, bellcloth, thorium, gems from thorium, but not too severely. In fact, many items are still going up as the supply is not at this point meeting the demand. I'm happy with how Dire Maul's ended up shaping out and plan to improve my own methods in the coming weeks. How's Dire Maul been for you so far? Let me know and I will see you in the next one. If you like what you see, give the video a like and subscribe as there's plenty more to come. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Take care. Bye.